Welcome to your Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain precious tips and tools for creating a wonderful, beautiful, thriving life for you, your loved ones, humanity, and also this beautiful place we are at called Earth and our world. And for this podcast is delivered alongside G100 Global Networking with Global Networking USA. And for today, we are very honored and very thrilled to have with us, joining us today, Dr. Violeta Bulc, who is the founder and curator of the Eco-Civilization Movement, which is one of the top 100 projects for the future of the world by the Women Economic Forum. Dr. Bulc is an entrepreneur, a scientist, a former European Commissioner for Transport, former Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Slovenia, and the current G100 Global Chair for the Women Economic Forum. Dr. Bulc is very passionate about creating a world where people work together for a peaceful transition towards a global civilization of nations based on participatory engagement, inclusion, respect, cross-gender collaboration, and responsible coexistence. And so please join me today to welcome us, Dr. Violeta Bulc. Thank you for joining us today, Violeta. Thank you so much for being here today. So my questions for you, you say in that eco-civilization possibly is a ticket to our existence. Can you share with us what is eco-civilization and how it might be the ticket into our existence?
Well, first, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very honored and I'm excited to share with you many insights and, of course, be part of this dialogue, which I hope will make an additional insights in what's going on around the world and in our common space for those that are listening to us. So thank you very much again for this invitation. So what is eco-civilization? Maybe the better start, which will lead me to the answer, is why am I here? Why am I doing this? And my life's been very grateful. I mean, very grateful to my life because it provided me with so many different experiences, from being a professional sport person to really an engineer in Silicon Valley to a businesswoman and a manager in corporate environment, and then being an entrepreneur for 14 years. Just seeing how the society works in business world. But then life also pulled me as vortex in politics and gave me yet another exposure to incredible sort of rules of life, if I can call them that. And I also, now I'm able to understand what an incredible impact on all of our lives and on the planet Earth politics has. So while going through that, all these experiences, something started to move inside me. And I didn't have a name for it, but I started asking myself deep questions. Are we really doing the right things with the activities that we are doing? Are we actually contributing to a better future for our children? And I have kids, so I'm speaking from an experience. And this question, are we a good ancestors of our future generations, started to really become a very important question for me. And also being a politician, especially European Commissioner, you lead teams that have to make a very serious decisions. And I really started to ask myself over and over again, is what we're doing really contributing to a better world? All these questions, most of them state, up in the air because it was never time to really sit down and think thoroughly about them. But after my mandate, I returned home, and a few weeks later, COVID lockdown happened. So I was able to really go deep and take a look over all the experience that I've had until that point. And somehow life kind of channeled through my thoughts this concept of eco-civilization, meaning the Western civilization and everything that we brought to the world started to exhaust its resources, started to exhaust its inspirations, and I could see decadency everywhere. And not only in Europe, but or United States, but all over the world, this sort of models started to repeat themselves, and they were not anymore contributing to better life. I could see everywhere just negative externalities. I could see a lot of challenges everywhere that we didn't have really good answers for it, no matter how much additional investments or any kind of money we were pouring into addressing the challenges like poverty or climate change or better earth devastation. The situation was going worse and worse. So I believe that that's how this accumulated awareness kind of steered the concept of eco-civilization to come forward. And one night I would just sit down, draw the models, I published them, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the outcome, with the responses that on social media and through conversation I was able to get. So I continued to write the basic concept. That's how the core goals of eco-civilization started to emerge, meaning developing a parallel school of thought and basic action framework within which we can deliver the society we really want to live in. Because whoever I ask a question, are you happy with the way how societies are evolving? The answer was no. Can you imagine something better, or what do you really want? I mean, it was, you know, so I said, okay, let's try to imagine it together. Let's try to bring more and more people together and just try to imagine how would society look like that we would feel comfortable, that we would feel positive, that we could see a positive progress and actually steer our actions into something that we will recognize as useful. So then this really very attractive goal emerged out of this, which is Earth as an ecozone of our galaxy. Our beautiful planet is so unique, and we know that by now. So instead of destroying it, can we take a responsible attitude towards it and just nurture it as this jewel of the planets in our galaxy? And if we really would like to exercise all the possible technological developments, can we do that with a higher level of responsibility and awareness of consequences, not only benefits, not to do things because we can, but to do things because we truly believe that they will manifest the imagination and dreams about our future life and how the life on Earth could potentially be nurtured to preserve these unique characteristics of this beautiful planet. So that is really just the initial story, and other goals then started to follow, and we started to engage in different conversations. And now we are almost 3 years after. We are in 42 countries. We have many projects within which and around which different communities are being formed. But the long-term goal was the first phase should last 30 years. So we are really just at the beginning and the first 10%. And currently just building the infrastructure for a really constructive exchange of thoughts, exchange of the level of awareness that different continents on this planet have reached, tapping into the ancient wisdoms and see how they can be a valuable resource for our future decisions, and really build a stable pool of knowledge from which we can start collectively building some wise decisions. So in a way, a human-based artificial intelligence, where technology is used only as a tool, not as a goal, and where we really respect the laws of nature, and while bringing humans back to be an active co-creators of what's happening on this planet Earth with a high level of responsibility.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Using technology as a tool instead of a goal, and bringing humans back to being human, because it's one of those things. Being a grief specialist, a lot of time people talk about all these things, and I said, you know what? At the end of the day, humans human. It just like humans have heart. You can have the most perfect robot, and they will be functioning, but there will be no heart and no love in there. And so bringing humans back to human, and for a community, for creating a thriving community where people actually want to live, instead of, like you said, when you ask anybody, are you happy the way society is going? And the answer is no. Like, okay, well then let's create a change. Thank you so much for leading the change. Yeah, thank you so much for leading the change, and for listening to the calling that come to you. So that is so beautiful. And then actually you answered my second question in all in one, because I was going to say, what's inspired you to do this? I know you have diverse background, so thank you. So sometimes we hear the term here in the US in particular, the circular economy, modern eco-civilization. And so is circular economy the same thing with eco-civilizations, or is it different, or how is it differs if it does?
First of all, let me re-stress that eco-civilization is a concept in emerging. So what we committed ourselves is to constantly tap into the emergence and see what works for the benefit of people, planet, and sort of a decent lifestyle and responsible living. Circular economy is a great tool. It's a great proposition that emerged in the last decade as a possible solution for a new economical model. So, but as it is, of course, it has its limitations. We were running a year of circular economy last year as part of eco-civilization movement, and we learned from experts from all over the world a lot about it. Really tapped into each of the phases of rethinking, redesign, reuse, reduce, recycle, and so on. All these elements are extremely important. But at the same time, something stayed up in the air. So as much as I'm very much welcoming circular economy, we started as a collective, as the eco-civilization movement, started to invite people whenever they think about circular economy to bring two other concepts that kind of developed in parallel, and especially in the last 5 years, together on board in order to have a really systemic and comprehensive view, and to try to grab the society as a whole and the planet as a whole. Whenever we think about economical model, whenever we think about social frameworks, and whenever we think about technological development. And those two other elements are regenerative economy, which is very much stressing the importance not only to recycle, reduce, and repair, but also to make sure that we regenerated the destructed soil, air, water, that we are consciously regenerating those basic resources based on which any other economical model is developed. But even that would not be sufficient. So we brought on board the third element that was also developed somehow at the same time, which is the economical model that is inviting us to really take the limitations, the boundaries of planet Earth on board as well, which is known today under the donut economy. So once you put all these three together, then circular economy all of a sudden gets this juicy incitement because it also takes a look at the boundaries within which solutions need to be made, and also really takes care of the planet Earth as a body, as a being, and regenerate its basic resources that we humans use in order to sustain our lives.
Oh, that is beautiful. So circular economy is part of it. It's a tool, but by itself, it is not complete. And now that you explain it that way, I can clearly see that. And so it is just not just circulating thing, but it's also regenerating.
Boundaries and also regenerative thinking. Yeah, and this is, we took all three as the basis for the future thinking and engagement within eco-civilization.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for clarifying it for me, and I imagine probably for some of our audience, because here we say, oh, you know what, it's so cool if we are tapping into this circular economy, but now we know that there is kind of like beyond circular economy, something even more comprehensive for everyone, kind of like in an all-win manner. And you do have a book though that's called Circular Economy, a book that you led, that excuse me, mentioned in that book, you mentioned spiral economy. Mm-hmm. And then here in the United States, talking about, it could be just a different term. Here in the United States, we hear more sustainable economy. And would you mind sharing if they are similar or they're different? It's just kind of for a lot more cohesiveness, I think, in different way.
Well, the reason why I prefer to use spiral, I've learned that way back when I developed first models for evolutionary development of business systems. And I realized that sustainable can be destructive as well. You can have sustainable destruction. And the word itself is not implying really the progressive move. And even at that time for the business evolution, I already, my awareness became very strong that we need to go into a spiral spin where the height of the spin is the level of consciousness that is present in the society. And I would also say the same in this connotation. If people take a look at the book, they will also see that we presented only the two elements of this Trinity structure, because you can see how fast the evolution of thought can be when you tap into the emergence and you really bring lots of different minds together. So this spiral implies that no matter how well we evolve, we constantly need to be aware also of the level of awareness that is present, because only things that we're aware of we can change. And that builds up the overall societal consciousness, which is the pool within which the change can happen. So that's where the name comes from.
I love that. That's beautiful, and that is another I would say light bulb moment for many of us, that when we think about sustainable, we talk about sustainable, it's possible to have a sustainable destruction.
And for a certain period of time. We think it can sustain for a long time, maybe thousands of years, and then the planet is gone. So that's why it's so important that we get this spiral awareness and consciousness, that we build the common understanding that this is our home. This is one unique planet. And yes, we can destroy it if we are constantly taking decisions that are only for the benefit of the current needs of the human beings. So it is really important to acknowledge the coexistence of beings on this planet, that we are together here with many other beings, like plants, like trees, like animals, the earth itself. You could call it a life being as well, because it has so many characteristics in behavior. And you can see where the society is heading while ignoring the behavior of the planet Earth.
Yeah. We want to remember that it's not just about human. We cannot exist here without the plants, without the resource from the earth that, like you say, it's in a way it's a living thing because it's continue changing and without the animal. And I love that it's a spiral. And when you think about spiral, you could probably partly because of my work being a grief specialist, you could spiral down. And at some point, sometimes societies look like it's going that way. And I love how you say, wherever your awareness is, I'd say you can choose for our audience, wherever your awareness and wherever your resource is. You were asking me earlier, so what brings me to do this? And I said, wherever you are with whatever you already have and whatever your level of awareness, use that and choose to spiral up in your generating, because if you're not mindful and use your awareness to choose to spiral up, you with spiral we can slide down pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And I am afraid that that's what the law of civilizations is, that when the level of civilization reaches the decadency, it stops moving up, and it really, the destruction always happens by far faster than the evolution of a civilization. Yeah. So, but at this point, if I may say, just to encourage everyone who's listening to us, there is a huge hope that maybe, just maybe, because we are so well connected and we can exchange all our views and wisdoms at this point, instead of into a destruction, we could go into reinvention with a conscious decision that we want to reinvent ourselves, not go down to the rabbit hole, but really continue to flourish and thrive together with this beautiful planet.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Now, in here, at least, a lot of people in the United States, and sometimes I speak with people from other countries as well, many people still think that, particularly businesses, still think that, if yes, it's all great concept, and for business, and actually to a degree individual business in particular, I mean, they have an obligations to meet that bottom lines and profit. And many times they say, well, yes, it's great concept, but it got expensive. It's not all this economical and so forth and so on. And for instance, here, at least in the US, it's if you were to use organic product and so forth, it's a lot of time a lot more costly. That sometimes it is cost prohibitive. So do you have perhaps just some thoughts, a few tips on how businesses can be more environmentally friendly while also being more profitable?
Well, this is a great question, but is really deep. And I will try to keep it within the time limits that we have. So first of all, let me say that based on my own personal experience, because I've been challenged in my circle of friends and also in the society, can you really afford living with an eco style? Are you so rich that you can buy healthy food? And I said, I cannot even imagine how rich I would need to be to buy bad food. Because I did an experiment. First of all, when we shift way back, maybe it's been now 14 years, to eco products, or allergies disappeared. The second thing was that I noticed that we eat by far less because the eco food was much richer, so we needed less. So, but by far the best outcome is health, long-term health, because sooner or later, bad food catches up with you. Catches up with your capacity to work, capacity to think, capacity to live healthy life. So there are lots of arguments for individuals to recalculate and not look only from today to tomorrow, but rather plan a little bit better the way how we want to live our lives in a sustainable manner, with a positive spiral shift, and really rethink the strategy, what kind of products we use, what do we put in our body, and how we live our life, which of course food is not the only one, it's also the exercises, the mental healthiness, to really deal with the mental blockages that we have, or emotional blockages, as soon as possible, in order to allow ourselves to live at the full capacity. But it's not only that. From a business point of view, the ecological awareness is challenging the basic business models. Is it really just competition for any cost? It is really just the constant 4% or 5 or 10 or 15% of growth that can satisfy our need for a successful and balanced life. I would challenge that. I think competition models caused a lot of troubles. I know that the American audience probably will not like that. I mean, I need to say that I spent 5 years in Silicon Valley. I've been actually trained by the Silicon Valley mentality. But in spite of that, I think that competition is not the healthiest model for our sustainable future. I do believe that we need to focus by far more on long-term relationships and serving the true needs. Right now, most of the economy is generating the needs that are somehow imposed on the societies. They're artificial, and they drive the consumption in a way that is not really healthy for a long-term life, not in our own life period, and by far not for the earth itself. So I'm inviting everyone just to rethink. I mean, I'm not trying to be smart here. I know it's not easy, but during my 14 years of business, I was helping companies to develop in mass innovation ecosystems, so for mass engagement. And we proved that the long-term sustainable business success cannot be based only on a very small innovative teams, but you gotta include everyone in a sort of ecosystem framework, including the suppliers, including the customers, especially those that really you have a good relationship with and they trust you. And on a long run, you then develop these stable business models where everybody can benefit from. Of course, you should not be greedy. You cannot make all the wealth that you want to have in 2 or 4 years. Life, offers us so many opportunities for our growth. So I would invite that we are more sensitive for our holistic development, and even the business owners. You would live so much more fruitful and fulfilling life if you focus on the sustainable, long-term, positive development, not only on the bottom line figures. So I know that this is maybe very challenging, but we gotta challenge and rethink the foundations on which our current societies are based on.
Yeah.
And we hope to offer something useful through our engagements.
Yeah, I love that. It's thinking about the long-term outcome, but also the long-term and the immediate outcome. And I love what you said just now. I cannot imagine how rich I need to be to not be living healthy. And I actually have a similar, basically the same experience. I used to have a lot of all this health problem. And then one day I started eating healthy. And sure enough, all my allergies gone. I went from needing allergy medication daily. It's absolutely not healthy. To not needing any. The last time I touched it was like so long ago, and then also sometimes here in the US it was the most interesting. situations that we saw at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, at the lockdown. For some reasons, people here in the US, you might have heard it from from Europe, where everybody stormed the store and buy every imaginable toilet paper.
Indeed,
and paper
indeed.
towel, and and so we'll leave the logic behind about that, and so the one thing I noticed interesting is talking about, sometimes we think it's like, oh, it takes so much more, but sometimes it's just a matter of paring down. And during those time, I see in the community posting, people say, you know what? I just realized that I can actually reuse paper towel. Instead, if I just wipe something simple, I can actually reuse paper towel. That's mean I actually can reuse this, make more use of that, and not destroying our environment as fast, and save them money.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, it's kind of like being healthier. And the same thing when you go to the store, and yes, the organic product might cost a little bit more, but aside from the health part of it, as you said, at some point back in my own experience, I was shopping in early my day of organic and doing this adjustment. I said, oh my God, these things are a bit pricier back in the day, particularly. And I was like, well, then I'll just buy what I need instead of taking half of the shelf home.
Voila, that's it.
Them. And from there, it automatically on its own resolve any weight struggles I ever have. I don't even have to think. I just just be conscious, be aware. And so that is so beautiful. Thank you.
And also you have less wasted food, because you do respect food more and you use all of it. You are not tossing it away.
Yes, exactly. You use, instead of, oh, you know what, just grab. It's like, do I want this? Do I need this? And if it's yes, then yes, you can benefit it. And when it's something more costly, people has this thing about cost. If you buy something more costly, you're not going to say, you know what, it's getting old, I'm just going to throw it away. You probably say, how can I use these things I already invest in? And then it's good for you, it's good for your wallet, and it's good for the environment. So how do people learn more about this movement, about eco-civilization?
Well, first of all, it's our webpage and social media. We're present in LinkedIn and Facebook and on Twitter, where we publish all the happenings, all the new members, and you're very much invited to join us on some of our talks. We are still right now in building the capacities and building the awareness. So we have eco-civilization talks, eco-civilization in action, global open house that we do together with 8-1. We run now Year of Water, which is amazing. I mean, people that talk on these gatherings are really, really people with a deep heart and there's serious concern, but also knowledge. So together we do it with the Myanmar Water Academy and Wak Wak Women from India. And every month we have a session, and also very much welcoming our members to provide ideas. What else should we address? So little by little, we're trying to identify what are the core elements that drive the civilizational change, the paradigm, but at the same time, where are our strengths that we need to just bring along? What is really working right now? Because several things are working and we should not just dismiss them, and we would like to bring them along. So at this point, what I'd like to share with you also is that we realize that one of the serious challenges is not just individual awareness, but also structures within which we organize ourselves. And we try to many times squeeze very modern, progressive, horizontal ideas into vertical, very sort of tunnel structures with a very tunnel vision. So what we propose, and now close your eyes and imagine organization of a community that has a pillar for beings and pillar for community pillar for a land and pillar for consciousness and wisdom and knowledge. And then we built dynamic relationship models that constantly, for whatever we decide to do, wherever our inspiration is taking us, whatever good idea and a sparkle we come up with, we always ask ourselves, are we improving the conditions for beings on this planet Earth? Are we improving the likelihood of well-being of a community? Are we taking care of the land while delivering our ideas? And are we enriching our awareness, our consciousness, and our repository of knowledge and wisdoms? Imagine that that's the way how we lead the society. You know, we would be equally active. We would be equally inspired. We would be able to do so many things, but just with a little sub-question. Are we doing this world better, or we are destroying it? And that, I would invite everyone, is our primary decision-making tool.
That is beautiful, that when we take action, simply just ask that secondary questions. What is the long-term impact? Not just think about tomorrow, but think about a decade or two down the road, and what is our long-term impact? And thank you for sharing this your project about the for water, with focus on water, because we all know that water is a precious resource. And here, particularly here in this area where I'm in California and Nevada, and when you're in the desert, you see how precious it is, and everybody's like, oh my God, you know, the price of water is going up, and we're restricted. We're not allowed to use water on certain days and things like that. And it's like, how about if we start, like you said, regenerating? It's not just circulating, which is I really love. So
Birgitte, let me share one thing with you, which was so inspiring for me. I was, until we started with the Year of Water, I was not aware of the expression community science. And the speakers, one after the other, just proved us how important the community science is. And for water management, this might be one of our most precious resources, because and really bring the challenges that are related to our basic life functionings back to the source, back to the communities who really care about, because it's their day-to-day life. So some stories were really inspiring, and that's why I'm so optimistic. I know that we have a capacity to live on this planet Earth with a much higher quality for all. And I can hear some people, yeah, right, but stock exchange wants us to deliver every 3 months the results. Yeah, maybe this is not the right way for the future. Maybe we can talk to people who run the stock exchange and want to be on and use the stock exchange as the way of generating money, or you know, presenting their companies. Maybe we can readjust that. Maybe there can be a bit of innovation added to that system as well. So it's not that we want to destroy now everything and build everything from scratch, but just little tune in, just a little change, just a slight shift in the matrix models that we have could make such a huge difference on a long run. You see, just maybe for one little centimeter, we change the direction, and in the 10 years, we'll end up in a completely different framework than we are today.
Yes, definitely. That is so beautiful, allowing us to go back to the community, go back to collaborations instead of and community instead of competitions. And that's when we'll be able to change. We will be able to change possibility.
Yeah, and let's compete. Who's gonna address the true needs of us humans and the planet Earth better? Not who will be better from the other one and destroying each other's even resources, or even, you know, the ideas, but let's compete who can address the true needs better. Can we imagine the world like that? And again, it's just a little shift in mentality, and it doesn't cost anything really. The awareness itself is for free.
Yeah, the awareness itself is for free. And if you are competitive nature, I love that. If you're competitive nature, channel your inner competitiveness in a different manner, in a way that it's yes, you can compete for together instead of just you and you, because at the end of the day, we'll live in a community. Even for people, let's say you said, oh, I don't have I don't have children, you still live in a community. And if we run out of resource 10 years from now in some community, they are looking at that. And then it's many time people don't think about the ripple effect. It's a bit, I think certain things that happen in the world in the last 2-3 years has created more awareness, but many times people just think about like this tunnel visions, and instead of the ripple effect, something happened in some other places in the world, it has a ripple effect throughout the globe. It's it's just a very interesting scenario. And so, and then go back to collaboration and community, and to turn possibility into probability. And so with that, Dr. Bulc, do you have a final message for our audience as we complete our time together, which really feels way too short? But for the interest of time, do you have a final message for our audience?
Let me share one thought. It seems we are living in a very chaotic times, but every chaos is a great opportunity, because universe has a tendency for order. So we are looking for a better order of things. And if we go deeply in our hearts and sincerely commit ourselves to human better altogether, there are only beautiful things ahead of us. So my invitation is, let's together human better. Let's find a way to become a better human beings and enjoy this privilege to live on this incredible planet Earth. I love it. And it's so unique that is worth respecting more.
I love that. Don't just be a human being or a human doing, but human better. Are you being human better? That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Violeta. It is such an honor and a delight to hear from you today. Thank you for contributing your time, educating all of us on this really, really important matter. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share this with your friends and families, because we all deserve and wants to be thriving in this world. And the word thriving, for us to thrive, it is not just us, but it is the whole community. So please share this with your community. So together we can change possibility into probability, where we can all thrive together as a whole unit in a dynamic, beautiful way. And please share your gold nuggets in the comments below so we can continue learning from each other. And this is Dr. Birgitte Tan, your host with G100 Global Networking, United States Country Chair, as well as the founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity and grief specialist for individual and businesses. And you, my friend, I see that as we continue our journey together with a together mindset, that we all thrive together as well. And I appreciate you very, very much. And I look forward to see you again very, very soon.